All right, guys. I got some good news. The good news is that SB 25-003 has been postponed again until 13 February. So this happened at 11:55 a.m. this morning. They postponed it to 13 February, so next week. So I think, now I don't know this to be a fact, but I think the pressure is working. So what I would have you do is email your representative and your senator every single day. Make a schedule on your email. You can do that. You can go to your email, make a schedule for every day, send out the same message. It doesn't matter. Just send out the same message. But what does matter is that you put in the subject line opposition to SB 25003 or SB3. You could just say SB3. They know what you're talking about. If you do that every single day, if all of you do that for every single day, if every single one of my Colorado followers was to do that every single day and flood their inbox with opposition, just the subject line, opposition to SB 003, 25 SB, at 25003, excuse me, opposition to this firearms ban, is what it basically is. If you just do that every day and you flood their inbox with it, just flood it, they have no choice but to oppose it themselves. And I'm kind of, I say they have no choice. Obviously, they have a choice, but if they continuously get email after email after email after email after email saying that I'm a Colorado resident and I oppose SB 25003, and we all do the same thing every single day, and we schedule that every single day, when it does actually come up for voting, it's more than likely going to be voted down. That's my interpretation of it. We do not want it to pass the Senate chambers. We didn't want it to pass the committee chambers, but I think it was an unfair balance there. Both the both the chair and the vice chair were supporters of the bill, 100%. And then we had two on our side. And then there was one that was an outlier, which I had hoped he was on our side, but he's not. So, even though he was a former 75th Ranger Regiment soldier, I guess he's a major too. I don't hate liberals. I wish they would understand that our rights are not to be screwed with. Don't screw with our rights. But anyway, that was a response to the text message there. D-pool. Here's the thing, like, we didn't have a fair shake because like I said, two of them were obviously for the bill. One is a prime sponsor and one is a sponsor. And the other two were, and then two were for us, like with us on that, two Republicans. And the thing about it is, this isn't a Republican Democrat issue. This is an American issue. Is the way I see it. It's an American issue. The Second Amendment is an American issue. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, black, white, gay, straight, transgender, whatever. I don't care. It is a Second Amendment right. If you are an American citizen, this is an American issue. Okay. The problem is that we like to pit against each other. Okay. And we like to use things to leverage our beliefs. For example, Tom Sullivan, that dude is actually leveraging his son's death to propose such a egregious bill that goes against our rights, and I hate that. Um, but back to the crux of this whole live thing is write your senator, write your representative. It doesn't matter if it's the same message that you've already done. Do it again every single day. Write them. Make a schedule on your email, whatever you use for email, whether it's a Gmail or Outlook or whatever you use. Write them every day, and in the subject line, put my opposition to SB 25-003 every single day. Flood, flood him, flood him, flood, 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 flood. Make sure they understand that us Coloradans do not want this. We don't want this as a law. We don't want our taxpayers' dollars spent to fight it, because that's what's going to happen. It's going to get it's going to get um, challenged in the courts, and in order for the government to fight to keep that, they're going to have to what? They're going to have to pay a lawyer. They're going to have to pay legal fees and lawyers and all that stuff. That money is going to come from the taxpayer dollar. That's 100%. That's what's going to happen. We don't want that to happen. We also don't want those individuals who absolutely, let's say they need an AR-15 because let's say they're small stature or whatever the case may be. They still they still have a right to keep and bear arms. What if they can't handle a pistol? What if accurately, for example? And shooting a pistol is way harder than shooting an AR-15. In my opinion, it's super hard. Um, because there's like 3 points of contact, right? Your shoulder, your sport hand, your sport hand, your strong hand. But that's besides the point. The point is that we need to continue the pressure. They postponed this. I think they postponed it because they don't have enough support. Yeah, your granny does need an AR-15. She actually needs a short-barreled rifle AR-15, which honestly I don't even think the short-barrel rifle should be even a thing. I think it should just be a rifle. But I digress. Um, your granny needs an AR-15. She 100% needs an AR-15. Uh, anyway, so we need to keep the pressure on them because I think it's working. You have you have it postponed once. It's postponed again to the 13th next week. So there's how many days until then? Like 6 days until the 13th. If everyone was to send an email in opposition to SB3 with the subject line of SB3, opposition to SB3, for example, um, if everyone was to do that every single day, you're flooding their inboxes with this opposition. I mean, look, if I was a politician, if I was up there as a senator or as a representative, I would literally go, okay, well, how many numbers do I have? I don't have enough time to read all the emails. I can't sit there and read all the emails. But what I can do is tell my assistants how many in opposition and how many are for the bill. That's what I can do. And you know what they're going to do? The very first thing they see is the subject line. So they're going to look at okay, that's opposition. There's opposition, 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 opposition. You see my point here? So email them every single day. It doesn't matter if you've already done it. Until this bill has been squashed in its tracks, we have to email them every single day. Every single day. Um so there's 120 days that the General Assembly has a session. That's calendar days. They started on 8, I think it was 8 January, which means 120 days is like May. By the 13th, that would have been 30% of the legislative session is gone. This is good news, right? Because it has to pass the Senate for the second reading, and then it goes to the Senate again for the third reading. Now, they can't do the second and the third reading on the same day, but they can. For example, on the 13th, if it passes the second reading, they could go ahead and schedule it for the third reading the next day. So it could theoretically pass the Senate in both of those readings, the second and the third, by the end of Friday next week, theoretically speaking. Again, this is why it's so important that we email them every day saying this is we don't want this. And stop with the shenanigans, by the way. But let's say it doesn't, then they can schedule it for Monday or the following week, right? Then it has to go to the House. So when it goes to the House, that's when we really need to ramp up our efforts. We need to continue the pressure now, okay? But we really need to ramp up our efforts if it ever goes to the House, because it's going to go to another committee in the House, and then that gives us a chance to testify in person and in writing formally, okay? Not just sending it to our representatives, but actually testifying in opposition thereof. And that's where we need to show up in force. By the way, in a peaceful manner. I'm not trying to do a January 6th thing here or whatever, or even be accused of it, okay? We need to peacefully protest this horrible legislation. We need to let our voices be heard in a peaceful manner and let them know that their jobs are on the line, because we're not going to vote for them next year, or excuse me, it'll be in 2 years from now. 2 years from now, I believe it is. So I think if the senators serve every 2 years, and I think representatives every 4, not to exceed 8 in total. I think it is. I have to reread that, but I think that's what it is. But they need to know that we don't want this. And if you guys watch my other videos, you can get a lot of good content that you can write about. Okay, because not every single one of us has all the answers, but us collectively can research opposition points. Obviously, 100% the Second Amendment, but our argument cannot excuse me, our argument cannot stop at the Second Amendment, because we know damn well that they don't give a damn about the Second Amendment. They don't care. A lot of them don't. They're doing this interest balancing test. What's good for the safety of the public versus the Constitution, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. Obviously, it's not in our history, text, and tradition, as Bruin mandates that they should look at. They should. The courts are absolutely supposed to look at the history, text, and tradition, but obviously, some of those judges are super liberal, and they will vote for this kind of thing if it ever comes on their doorstep. So we don't want it to get there, especially here in Colorado. They're going to vote. Most of them are going to vote in favor of this thing, or rule in favor of, rather, I think is the correct terminology. So I guess that's all I really wanted to say. I wanted to get this information out as fast as I possibly could, so that anyone who's following me, or anybody who watches this video, they understand that we need to fight in a peaceful manner. We need to fight. Okay, when I say fight, it's more of like a email verbal fight. I don't mean fisticuffs. because I don't want to get raided by the ATF and have my dog shot, even though I don't have a dog. But they'll plant one and then shoot it. Yeah, I don't want that to happen. But anyway, we have some really good things happening in the United States. You know, obviously we have Trump as president. Pam Bondi just got confirmed. Um, there's been some other confirmations that's awesome. Okay, here recently, Pam Bondi actually put in a memo to redirect the ATF. So watch that. Um, I like to watch. I like to watch Four Boxes Diner. Although he, excuse me, he's a very boring character, but he knows what he's talking about. I like that guy. I like watching armed attorneys. I also like watching that guy from the USCCA. Even though I don't approve of USCCA. I think they're a scam and a half. But that's my thoughts on that. If you were to go with anybody, I would say attorneys on a retainer. Again, that's just an opinion of mine. But I still like watching Tom Greaves is his name. Watch those guys. Um, there's another one. I can't remember his name right now, but there's another one that I watch. Anyway, they're saying the Pam Bondi memo to the ATF is super awesome. Okay, so especially for gun rights, and then Trump just signed an executive order, basically uh, mandating that Pam Bondi actually looks at all the executive orders from the prior administration to see what they can do about those, especially if they infringe on our rights. So that's great. But here in Colorado, obviously, we have some senators. Oh, my boy. We have some senators that obviously didn't get the memo, pun intended. Anyway, so that's all I had to say, man. At the end of the day, is he coming in? No. At the end of the day, go and make a schedule on your email opposition to SB 25-003 or SB3, whatever you want to say. Just put that in the subject line, and then in the body of the message, obviously put your message in there and copy and paste it every single day, or make a schedule. Just make sure it happens. Okay, keep the pressure up. Keep the pressure up. Keep the pressure up. Love you guys. Tack out.